Good evening, everyone, and welcome to EduTap. Today we have with us Mr. Akshay Vaklu, who has cleared the RBI Grade B 2019 examination in his very first attempt. Right, so we'll be talking to him regarding his strategy. So first of all, let me tell you guys that he's not an engineer. He does not have a UPSC background. So, you know,
Yes, sir.
so thank you so much, Akshay, first of all, for tuning in today, and heartiest congratulations from the entire team of EduTap for
Thank you.
clearing the
Thank you, sir.
examination.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let me take this opportunity to first of all tell you his marks in phase one, phase two, as well as interview. So in phase one, in quantitative aptitude, he got 19 out of 30 marks. In reasoning ability, he got 23.75 out of 60. In English, he got 25.25 out of 30 marks. And in GA, I think this is the highest score that I have heard till now. It is 72.5 out of 80. Again, extraordinary score in GA. So I'll be, taking a lot of time to discuss this part specifically, Akshay.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes,
So
yes, definitely.
72.5. So his total score in phase one is 140.5 out of 200, which is way above the cutoff. तो जो लोग कह रहे थे 122 बहुत ज्यादा कट ऑफ चला गया तो he has got 140.5. He has a very safe score, right?
Yeah.
उसके बाद in coming to phase 2, in paper 1, that is economics and social issues, he got 68.5 out of 100. This is again a very good score. In ESI, I have, I cannot expect 75 or 80. That can be
Yeah.
expected in FM.
Yeah.
68.5 is a very good score out of 100. In English, it is 65 out of 100. And in finance and management, it is 79.25 out of 100. And his interview marks are also excellent, which is 45 out of 50. So I am expecting a very good rank for you, Akshay, because we still do not know the all India
Yeah.
ranks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think you should be in the top 10 at least.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, right. So Akshay, let me start by first of all congratulating you and
Yes, sir.
giving you an
Thank you.
opportunity to tell you about your background first, because
Yes,
we
sir.
want to really hear someone who has not done anything regarding UPSC and not from engineering background. So I'm very happy to
Yes,
have you
yes.
on board today.
Yes, sir. Likewise, likewise, sir.
Yeah. So can you please share about your background first?
Yeah.
Tell
Yes,
something
sir.
little about
So
your background.
I'm a bachelor's in economics honor, sir, from Delhi University, and I completed that in 2015. And post that, I had worked for a year for a risk consulting firm. It's called Axis Risk Consulting, based out of Gurgaon. After that, I mean, for the first year, I also took, I wanted to study further alongside also. So I had taken up the CFA level one at that point of time and completed that. Post that, I wanted to explore more in the finance domain itself. So I took up the opportunity to work with Goldman Sachs in Bangalore. So they have their bachelor program, sort of a undergraduate intake program in the investment banking division. So I worked there for 2 years, and alongside over there also, sir, I continued my journey of taking the CFA exam, and I have right now I've completed both the levels of it. The third one is still pending. Around, so towards the end of 2018 is when there was a sort of a path which I wanted to decide that whether I want to go for my MBA. Like most of the students, they want to go for their MBA after that for work experience. But I was like, yeah, I still want to try something else. I mean, did not want to completely go into the same post graduation phase. So I researched about this. I had no idea about this exam before this because there was not much talk about it. And so then I researched about it, and then I found the profile, the work, and all that to be suitable. So I mean, the biggest catch for me was that it's a knowledge-driven organization. So that was the biggest appeal for me. So around towards the end of 2018, I left my job and I came home. I started preparing full time for this because that was why did I exactly do that was because the timeline was that the exam would be held somewhere around June of 2019. I mean, that was the timeline in my head. So 6 months would have been a adequate amount of time. I mean, for some or the odd reasons, the examination got delayed, but that's a different thing. So that has been my journey. So full time, sort of, I've been preparing since January of 2019. I've been preparing for this exam. Alongside also, so I mean, I was still not this thing that I just can't study for one thing. So I took up the FRM exams also because I worked in risk and there was a keen interest in finance. So I completed both the levels of FRM till May 2019. So that has essentially been my journey since my graduation, essentially.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think your love for finance made you switch to RBI Grade B, right?
Yeah, definitely. There
Yeah,
was
CFA
that
level.
one of the
Yeah.
major factors. Yeah.
Yeah, CFA level 1, level 2, FRM level 1, level 2. That is really good.
Yeah.
Akshay, how difficult was it to leave your job and prepare full time for RBI Grade B? Was there any risk involved because you were
Yeah,
yourself
definitely.
studying risk management?
Definitely.
So,
So, yeah, I mean, I think that it wouldn't be called one of the best strategies in terms of risk management, if I would say that.
mm,
But there was this, I think there was a calling inside that, if you want to give something a shot, then give it your best kind of a thing. So I was, and I'm not, I mean, I wasn't at a very bad age also in that terms, I was in a sweet spot of an age where I could take this risk at this point of time in life. So I just went ahead for it because I still remember that I was going ahead to apply for a very prestigious MBA college in India itself with GMAT score and all that, but it just diverted from there. I didn't even go through the entire process, and I just took up this path. So yeah,
mm.
happy.
So your plan was basically to appear for the examination for just 1 year, or you were going to sit, without job and prepare for this examination for multiple years?
I wouldn't say wouldn't have done the latter option for sure, because even though my parents are extremely supportive, they would not have preferred me to just stay at home and continue to study and all that. I would have eventually taken up a job, and even during this, because of the pandemic and the lockdown, the entire process got delayed. So I'm sure it was a very it's been a very anxious period for all candidates. Like
Mm,
whoever have sitting for the exam, I know that for sure it's been a very anxious period. And that was when I again started looking at the job market. But the job market also sort of tanked post the pandemic, so I was in a very difficult situation. But I think things worked out fine.
yeah, right, right. ठीक है. अच्छा, Akshay, like you started for your preparation for RBI Grade B in January of 2019.
Yeah.
So you were expecting the examination to be held in, June 2019.
June, yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
this specific month of June 2019, you were basically looking at the previous year,
Yeah,
2018,
I was, yeah,
and
yeah,
deciding.
exactly. I was sort of looking at the previous years, this thing that how much of time it would take and all that. So it was
Mm,
sort of a buffer because I had another exam which I had to take in May. So I was like, I can manage both the studies alongside and just, push with RBI towards the later end. So that was the plan. But I mean, for good or for bad, I think it got delayed. So I got a little more time to prepare for sure.
I understand. So can you take us through your journey post January 2019? Like, did you start with phase one? Did you start with phase two? Did you
Yeah.
move both in parallel? Like, what
Yes.
did you do from January till June?
So January till June, I was, as I said, I had started the preliminary studies for it. I mean, not the phase one, but just to understand what the exam is all about and just to get a hold of the syllabus of it. Because I had never taken a competitive government exam before this. This is the first time I've done it, and so I definitely, first of all, I did that. I had subscribed to your online course because I knew that even though I mean there might be a lot of views that people can manage it on their own and all that, but I preferred to have a guidance towards it. A scheduled guidance is always helpful for something that you're new at. So I did that, and I started preparing. So for a lot of things, I mean, mainly I was looking at what is all there in management, finance, ESI, because ESI is completely, even though the concepts might not be new to me, but the structure of it is very new to me. That how much you cover and this that the schemes part, I've never read all that before. So that was there, and so basically, yeah, Jan to June was that, and I was keeping an eye on phase one also because I was on the thing that the notification might be out, so you have to keep on preparing the current affairs. So I was sort of well versed in current affairs from Jan 2019 itself. Even though my people might have done 3 or 4 months before the actual exam, but I was continuously preparing current affairs since Jan also. So yeah, because so it actually takes a while to get into the zone of it. It's something if you want to study, and it's a different thing. So
So is that the reason for your 72.5 marks out of 80
yeah.
score, starting
No,
from
so
January 2019?
I think the reason for that is because I had a very big phobia in my head that I don't want to hold be held back in the phase one. I had given
Hmm.
myself this promise that I definitely want to get through phase one, and obviously if I can make it to the end. But phase one was sure कि भाई ये तो करना ही है, यहाँ नहीं रुक सकते, आगे
Hmm.
देखेंगे क्या होता है. So that much the intensity towards current affairs increased manifold. Like we used to have a lot of Telegram quizzes. The particular channels, all the candidates come together. So there were continuous discussions and all that used to happen every night. There used to be where someone was asking questions. So I used to participate in that full time. ये तो करना ही करना है. So I think it just revved from there that you have to get into it properly.
I think because if you are, not through phase one in your first attempt, I think a certain kind of phobia sets in.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
cannot
So
clear the examination, right?
yes, yes, exactly. So that was the thing.
ठीक है. Right. So basically, you were preparing for phase two as well as phase one in parallel,
Yes,
and you had a very good look at the syllabus and the previous year questions. You were
yes, yes,
understanding what kind of
yes. Yeah,
study you need to do for the
right,
examination.
right.
Right. ठीक है. Akshay, you are an economics graduate.
Yes.
So how different did you find the ESI paper as compared to what you studied in your economics?
I think that in terms of ESI, so there's a lot of in what we study in bachelor's stage for economics is mostly theories, and you've got models and you've got a little bit of statistics and all that. ESI was completely different from that. Even though you had a base of understanding, you already know what the balance of payments thing is. You already know what inflation and how it works and unemployment, all of that. You know about that, but ESI is not doesn't completely pertain to that. It asks concepts on a very basic level, but there's a lot of factual information involved in it. There's a lot of factual information involved because it's the social aspect, I think, takes over the entire subject. Where the schemes are there, government is doing so much of work and all that. So I feel that was sort of new to me. It wasn't very giving on the fact that I was an economics graduate.
Hmm.
So factual
Right.
information, so you'll have to remember. There's
I
no
understand.
way
So
around
actually,
it.
let me start with the current affairs part itself.
Yeah,
Be it phase one, be it phase two. For
yeah,
GA also, you read a lot of current affairs. For ESI also, you had to remember a lot of facts.
yeah,
For finance also, for that matter, you had to do a certain
yeah,
amount of current
yeah.
affairs.
Right,
So
right.
tell me
Yeah,
your entire current affairs strategy, and please take your time because I really want to hear that.
yeah,
72.5 is a really, really good score. So please take your sweet time and explain us everything about current affairs.
yeah. So I think for current affairs for phase one, I had taken up that mag. There was a website of Affairs Cloud, and they have their PDFs and monthly, weekly, topic-wise divided and all that. So I was strictly following that. I think once or twice I did. You guys also provide the phase one current affairs. This thing I remember. There's an entire PDF set that comes out. So I used to somehow match it out also. That is there any information missing from here or there, but it was majorly limited to these two sources.
Mhm.
And the fact was, so if you understand the structure of phase one, it's got a lot to do with your timing also. You might be the most knowledgeable person in the world, but if you can't recall the fact in within that time period, there is no use. So it holds true for quant LR, everything. That it's a very time bound thing. So for GA, my goal was like I have to see the question and know the answer. Even without looking at the options, also I have to know the
Mhm.
answer. So I wanted to prepare at that level for the exam, and it was the same thing. So I used to revise quite a lot. So I mean, in terms of the PDFs that were there, keep the topic. I mean, the topic wise PDFs are extremely helpful. So revision was the only thing which I think which helped it at that point of time. Because so what happens, I mean, this was also the previous exams I'd taken, all these CFAs and all that, they happen in very fancy places.
Mhm.
So this exam that happened was in some small time school that happened near the city. And I mean, when I went and sat for the exam itself, I picked up the mouse and the mouse fell apart. So there was sort of a phobia which was there that, "Bhai, how will this work out itself?" So, the nerves and that's true, I think, for all candidates, that their nerves act at a very weird, at the 11th hour, they act in a very weird way. So if you're well prepared, then it's still, you have to be well prepared for that. Yeah.
Did they change the mouse?
Oh, they didn't do anything, sir. I had to clean my desk also. Nothing was clean at that point. So, yeah.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah.
Affairs Cloud monthly
Yeah.
PDF, supplemented with our magazine, EduTap's
Yeah.
magazine,
Yeah.
and a lot of revision.
Yeah.
And how
Definitely.
many months did you exactly follow? Because it started from January, but the
Yeah.
exam was held pretty late.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
did you revise all the current affairs
No,
from
no,
January, or
I
did
didn't.
you?
No,
Yeah.
I didn't revise all of them. I think the prior 5 to 6 months was my target. That prior 5 to 6 months, you have to be pretty good at that. I don't think the current affairs came from beyond 3-4 months also,
Mhm.
but 5 to 6 months was definitely my target, that you have to be good at that.
Right. And did you make your any did you make any handwritten notes or digital notes out of the current affairs for phase one?
No, sir. Actually, I'm very bad at taking notes. So
Okay.
I'm very extremely bad at taking notes. So there was more of all just the PDFs were there. So it was just to, the PDFs were my notes itself, and I used to just
Mhm.
pick up and just revise on that. So there's
But
no handling.
Akshay, how do you revise so many hundreds and hundreds of pages before the examination? Did you mark them properly, or
Yeah, so I actually highlighted them. So they even in my, I used to just do it on my laptop itself. So just highlight out the questions. So Affairs Cloud also has that thing. It gives a question answer PDF also. There are, like, I think it's a very lengthy one. I wouldn't recommend completely trying to memorize it, but they give out these question answer PDFs, and I used to highlight on my laptop itself. So just highlight it out, and whenever you are going through it again, you go through the highlighted questions, which you tend to forget.
I understand. Right. ठीक है जी. अच्छा, coming to phase two, Akshay, what is the strategy for current affairs for phase two? Because you told us about GA. Now, for ESI, government schemes, reports, other things, for finance, RBI notifications, RBI circulars, blah, blah, blah. So for ESI and finance, what was the go-to strategy for current affairs?
Yes. So for the phase two, definitely, if there are, I think I'll break it down into number one, the schemes part of it. So any schemes that have been in mention over the past, I'd say 1 year, dial it back almost 11 to 12 months, and any scheme which is being mentioned in the news or the government is putting a lot of emphasis on it, you should know it. Like I remember that PM Awas Yojana and a lot of technicalities around it was a lot in mention. So I would take that as a given ki, okay, this scheme is something you need to focus on quite a lot. So that was my strategy, that take up the schemes from at least the current part of it for the past 11 months. For the next, for the even the remaining, even the older schemes, go ahead and so I'd used your this thing, the PDFs that you provided in terms of schemes, because sir, again, it's very vast. It is extremely vast to cover all these schemes. So I mainly stuck to your PDF, and I think one more, I think Vision IS or something like that, just to tally it out. And I used to, again, the revision was the key, that revise the important schemes and mark out, highlight those schemes that have been in mention recently. Even if it's something for like a fishery sector also, just keep that in mind, because it's too recent. And definitely, so the union budget, I mean, whenever the union budget, when it was out, so I completely followed it also, like what are they saying, the numbers and all that, and the schemes that are mentioned in the union budget, that is also important. Definitely, like there'll be 50 odd schemes which come out in the union budget, so you need to know them for sure. So that was there. And since my current affairs preparation was going on since Jan for a while, so I think that also helped quite a lot, because you were in tune with what's happening since the start of the year. So that helps definitely. So that is, I would say, in terms of the schemes in the ESI part for the current affairs. So for FM, it applies on the similar scale, that anything which is happening in the banking sector, or in terms of there is some the markets or something like that, or there are particular circulars and notifications coming out, they are important. You need to do them. And I think for your this thing, again, in your online course, where you provided the separate section for this thing, RBI circulars, there was this thing, they were month wise, I mean, which circular got released in which month, and there were questions based on that. So I made full use of that also, just to revise and all that. So it was very helpful.
Right. Apart from schemes, any other current affairs for ESI? The same preparation for GA helped in ESI, or anything specific apart from schemes?
So for GA, I think anything. So it wouldn't be something. So GA is again very. It could have some random topics also. If you just look at phase one, it could have random topics also. I think there was a question on Article 15 also, if I remember correctly, in GA phase one. There was this question. So I would say that GA phase one can get a little random. If to convert that same GA for the second phase, you can filter it out. Filter it out in terms of the scheme aspect, or any other social thing that's there. Or I remember sustainable development goals was a very big thing, which we had to focus on, and any census and SECC and all of that. So I focus on that as well, for sure.
समझ गया. अच्छा, one very difficult question to answer, मुझे personally बहुत difficult लगता है, वो ये है कि अक्षय की when you are reading ESI and ESI current affairs especially, and GA current affairs and finance current affairs, there are a lot of numbers, lot of data, lot of decimal places that you need to memorize. तो वो फिल्टर कैसे करते हैं कि मुझे कौन सा डेटा याद करना है, कितना डेटा याद करना है, वो कैसे करना है उस चीज को?
So I would say that for so if you pick up the two documents of the union budget and the economic survey, So union budget, there are major numbers which are there. Let's say there's something like a Manrega allocation, I think, which was something around 60 or 60,000 crores or at that point of time. So usme aapka try to get these figures in your head. I mean, you know, the major scheme figures that are there.
मेजर को
Apart,
डिफाइन करो पहले आप.
आप
पैरामीटर क्या है मेजर को डिफाइन करने का?
सब मेजर को डिफाइन करने का, I mean, like, let's say the deficits that are there, the various deficits that come out, or you know, what is the kind of expenditure that goes on interest by the government of India on an annual basis. So I sort of worked around these numbers and kept on like trying to imbibe them. So ये तो होता है कि for certain percentage. And the other thing is about indices actually. These indices keep on updating. This is a very, actually what happens is, as and when the exam date moves, your indices keep on updating. The same provider, let's say there'll be someone like
frequency पे आते हैं ना 6 महीने बाद आ रहे हैं तो नया
exactly,
इंडेक्स
the
आ जाता है.
IMF, the World Bank, they're coming out with updated figures. So there is no way around it. You just have to update the data. So I think by the end of it, when one of our Telegram groups, there was a very sweet soul who had come out with this graph. They had come out with this graph where they had pinned all the percentages, you know, the growth numbers for India in a graph form. So I still remember on the last day on the day of the phase 1 exam, I was just flipping through that also, because you can't do anything. They will ask you, IMF gave latest GB 45, you have to know it. So it goes there in terms of percentages, wo karna hi padega. And but I would say about the economic survey is, don't fret yourselves too much with the volume, because it's a very bulky document. You can't be expected to know every other ki bhai banking sector mein NPA ratio chalo kya chal raha hai overall, ye aapko pata hai. But you don't want to deep dive into things like ROE kitna aa raha hai, ROA kya aa raha hai. Don't do that. Stick to the broad figures. You'll get an idea. I think the candidates will definitely get an idea of broad figures kya hote hain, as and when they, you know, keep on preparing for the exam.
Right. So broad and major figures need to be done.
Broad and major. Don't
broad and
much.
major.
Yeah.
Right. So syllabus reference ले लो, previous question थोड़े से पढ़ लो, you'll get an idea, right?
Yeah, exactly.
ठीक है. Okay, Akshay. अच्छा Akshay, coming back to the phase 1 part. Now, what about quant, reasoning, and English? Did your CAT preparation suffice for the examination, or did you do something else?
So the thing was that CAT, by the time the exam actually happened, and I had the gap between when the exam happened and my previous CAT attempt was quite a lot.
Okay.
Because CAT happens somewhere in November, and the exam actually happened in the subsequent November, 2019 ke aaspaas hua tha. So there was this for quant. There was I had made sure of the fact that just pick out your strong points. There are certain questions you just don't want to attempt, leave them out. There's no heroics in trying to attempt those questions. And if you have enough amount of time and you are not confident in quant, I'm particularly saying this for those candidates who have a lot of time on their hands and they definitely want to make sure that they get through phase 1. Go ahead and YouTube the topics that you are weak on. Let's say you're weak on permutations and combinations. Go ahead and YouTube the questions on permutations and combinations and try to understand from there itself. It helps quite a lot. So my strategy essentially was that. So for LR questions, quant questions, the strategy was whichever questions you're weak on. Let's say आपके कोई arrangements आते हैं, logical reasoning में arrangements आते हैं. If you're weak in a particular kind of an arrangement, go ahead and YouTube it, practice questions from there. So once you do that for 2-3 months on a stretch, like completely weeding out all your weak areas, then go to the mocks. There is nothing that will help you better than mocks, because again, once the clock is going on, your mind will function in a different way, and you have to train your mind in that way. It holds true for any sort of a quantitative exam. Aptitude test में यही होता है कि आपको भी clock के हिसाब से mind train करना है. So you have to do it that way. So the end strategy for all this is mocks. Take as many mocks as you can. So yeah.
Right. So I like how he has used YouTube as a verb. कि वो YouTube कर लो. You know, it's really good because YouTube is the mothership in terms of edtech especially. So there is, you know, everything available on YouTube. तो अगर आपको ये पता है कि topics कौन से आते हैं examination के अंदर, तो you can easily Google them, you can easily YouTube them, and you can study from that.
Yeah.
Right. बस पता हो कि ढूंढना क्या है. यहाँ वहाँ मत घूम जाना.
You find out your weak areas. I think that's the best thing to do. Yeah.
ठीक है जी. अच्छा अक्षय, now coming to the finance and management part. Now, obviously, you had done your CFA level 1, level 2. That might have helped in finance and management.
Yeah, definitely. Basics, I was pretty clear about my basics.
ठीक है. So, strategies के बारे में थोड़ा और डिटेल में बता सकते हैं for finance and management?
Yeah, so management. So management again was a new topic for me, and I completely referred to your material for management. There was and there was sort of supplementing it with a few notes from here and there also, which kept on getting shared on the various chat groups. So वो supplement कर लेते थे. But management, I knew that it's a very fixed structure. It's kind of like a thing like don't fix something which is not broken. So if you don't try to go ahead and start doing research on management and all that, stick to the theories, stick to the syllabus, and it will help you through. Because of the three of finance, ESI, and management is the only one which is purely completely static. There is nothing, even for the past 100 years, management theories haven't changed. So they are the same, and it's good to invest your time in management. Yeah, I was pretty clear about it. By invest your time and get the marks in management. But I think this time what happened in the paper was they didn't ask theories directly. Jo funda tha, that they were very interpretive from the passages itself. So if you had the background knowledge in terms of what the management thing was, it would have definitely helped. So for you to interpreting from the passage as well. So that is for management for sure.
For finance?
Yeah. So for finance, it actually, I would feel that, for someone who is starting from scratch for finance, I wouldn't be in the best position to comment how should he go about it, because then it's a very big ocean. Aapko everything from, you could be talking about bonds. Let's say, even if you pick up a topic like bonds. So I have done a lot of in-depth study in what are bonds and all that also. So I wouldn't expect a new candidate to, invest so much of time in bonds. So the thing is, for someone who's starting out new, try to pan it out in terms of the broad. I mean, use the syllabus for sure. Use the syllabus, what it's saying, and divide it out into topics which are non-banking and banking. Like banking also forms that part of the finance topic. So banking ke questions and knowledge is completely different, and finance ke alag chalte hain. So that is there for sure. And again, use internet as it's available. I also used a lot of Investopedia, because you tend to forget terms and all of that. So yeah, and yeah, definitely. I mean, you can refer to the EduTap material as well, because वो आपको एक structure दे देगा. Sort of आपका एक structure दे देगा कि भाई okay, ये topics mentioned हैं. This is the sort of knowledge. If you want to go ahead and know more about the topic, please Google. Like use Google at length. So that was my strategy.
Understood. See, I would again like to summarize what he has just said. Management is purely static. ESI is not static. ESI is in fact not at all static. Uska anti-static in fact wo. Finance is again a certain portion of finances based on current affairs.
Yeah.
But management is purely static. So please invest your time on management, because it is highly scoring. You can score, I think, cent% marks in management. It is not possible in ESI at all. It's not possible. ठीक है जी. Akshay, now coming to the descriptive English part.
Yeah.
अच्छा, इसकी आपने कुछ practice पहले करी थी या you went like this कि चलो exam देकर आते हैं?
नहीं, I actually practiced I think 2 to 3 precies and 2 to 3 essays also. I'd say that I practiced that. So for me, my structural English is decent. I can frame the essay and paragraph pretty well, but again, there you don't want to just just walk into the exam like that. It's better to have a strategy of what you want to do. So I actually took help from one of my family friends. She's a very good she writes for online blogs and all that. So I took help from her. So कि मेरा vet कर दो, आप pressy मेरे को बताओ what is going wrong. So I think that at that time there was this thing of जो try का issue चल रहा था, the Vodafone sorry, the tax case that was going on with telecom companies. So I would pick up an article like that, and I would write a pressy for it. Okay, you just summarize it properly and send it to her. So just vet it, where am I going wrong. I think you guys also provide that same opportunity for candidates. इसमें आप उनके pressy or essays मांग लेते हो, and they can vet it. So it's a fantastic. I think for candidates who want to do that, they should definitely do that. Why do you want to leave out marks? ESI anyways is very dicey. FM अगर आपका वो नहीं है तो descriptive English में time दे दो. Like don't give it, obviously won't occupy the most of your time, but give some amount of time and use opportunities like that. If a coaching platform is providing you things like आप ऐसे vet करा सकते हो हमसे, तो definitely use it. Don't leave it behind. So
Right. And
that
yeah,
was
please continue. Sorry.
yeah. So and the actually the funny thing was what happened in the exam center when the descriptive part.
Did the keyboard fell apart?
The keyboard was, I think it was fine. Keyboard पे वो थोड़ा adjust करना पड़ता है आपको. But the funny thing which I felt was the moment the English thing appeared on the thing. So first the essay I think comes that you have to choose. The moment the screen went live for that, people had started typing. Like the entire room was full of keyboard clicking and सब हो रहा था, and I'm thinking to myself कि भाई ये over prepared है या मैं under prepared, what is happening? Because it takes 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minutes to भाई select your topic, frame your this thing, and then go ahead. I would strongly recommend that कि unless आपकी typing speed बहुत weak
वो
है,
कहीं कीबोर्ड चेक तो नहीं कर रहे थे कि कीज चल रही है
I
कि नहीं
don't
चल
know
रही है?
what people were doing. I completely swear that they were off from the बिल्कुल race जैसे होता है ना, वो gun उड़ा दी थी, and they were just going for it. So I would recommend कि please just take 2 to 3 minutes if your typing speed is good enough, imbibe the topic structure, and then लिखना just start go. It's definitely that. And the other thing was कि that word limit thing was definitely there. Word limit में you need that thing was continuously at the back of my head कि word limit में रहना है यार वो because the seniors are also told us that oh, you get negative marks and this that happening. So I was like, frame it, finish it off within the word limit. Don't try to prove you're a literary person. So keep it short and sweet. Yeah.
Okay.
That was the
So
thing.
thank God the keyboard did not fall apart.
Oh, keyboard was fine. Yeah, thankfully for
Keyboard
the
was,
second phase it was good.
yeah, actually we are laughing now, but actually this is true कि first of all the infra is not good at all.
Yeah.
तो ये आप दिमाग में रखिएगा जो भी इस वीडियो को सुन
Yeah.
रहे हैं, that the infra is not कि आप सोच रहे हैं कि हयात में जाके या
Oh
ताज में
no
जाके
no
एग्जाम हो
no,
रहा है.
that not happening. And
So
this yeah, and even so this is for like a prop capital city like Lucknow also I would have expected. But the infra I would say was okay, but it was expected कि थोड़ा और just to make the candidates more comfortable. आप इतने filter, the process itself is so competitive. There's so much of filtration that happens for candidates, and so yeah, better infrastructure would definitely help them for sure. Yeah.
आई थिंक हाइजीन फैक्टर है ये इनका कंप्यूटर का इनका
Exactly.
मोटिवेशन फैक्टर नहीं
Yeah.
है.
Yeah.
राइट. अच्छा मैं ये पॉइंट रिपीट करना चाह रहा था कि
Yeah.
वंस यू गेट द एसे, ऑब्वियसली यू शुड टेक योर टाइम, योर स्वीट टाइम टू सिलेक्ट द टॉपिक.
Yeah.
उसके बाद आपको रफ शीट मिलती है, यू हैव टू स्ट्रक्चर कि आप लिखोगे क्या, सीधा टाइप कर रहे हो, बाद में डिलीट कर रहे हो, फायदा क्या है उसका?
Yeah. There is no point. And so actually, there's also another thing which I noticed that you can't even. So the mouse doesn't work when you type the essay in that this thing. The mouse doesn't work. So आपको, if you want to switch between lines in that, you will have to constantly use the arrow key. आपको arrow key पे ऊपर नीचे करना पड़ेगा. You losing out valuable seconds. So it's always better भाई पहले structure कर लो. Don't try to do backspace at that point of time. It won't help.
I understand. वैसे ऐसा अक्षय बहुत बार होता है, जैसे जब मैं यूपीएससी एग्जाम देता था ना, तब क्या होता था, प्रीलिम्स का पेपर मिला, दैट शीट मिली, क्योंकि वो पेन एंड पेपर एग्जामिनेशन है, तो लोगों ने साथ साथ गोले भरने स्टार्ट कर दिए. आई वाज यार कि पेपर मिला है, क्वेश्चन पढ़ोगे, आप गोले भर रहे हो. दैट गिव्स यू अ काइंड ऑफ पीयर प्रेशर कि यार मैं कुछ नहीं करके आया कि ये लोग क्या करके आ गए.
I was the similar
कुछ
thing.
होता है.
Yeah.
हाँ, ये सबके साथ होता है, राइट.
Yeah.
अच्छा उसके बाद अक्षय, कमिंग टू द इंटरव्यू पार्ट, again you have got excellent score in interview, because many candidates this year have got horrible scores in interview.
Yeah, I know.
So you have got 45 out of 50, which is a really a very good score.
Yes,
तो
sir.
इंटरव्यू में प्रिपरेशन कैसे की आपने, और नंबर 2, इंटरव्यू रूम के अंदर क्या क्या हुआ, क्या क्वेश्चंस पूछे गए, किस तरह से आपने आंसर किया, सारा कुछ बताइए.
Yes. So for the preparation part of it, I would say that the first thing is that your biodata has to be very thorough with you. Whatever you're presenting to them in terms of that paper. So the thing actually becomes you're completely unknown to them, right? And your entire gist of your career, which had I think started from your undergrad, is there on that piece of paper. So you have to really be ready for questions on that biodata. That you cannot screw it up in terms of that you have to know things on your biodata. So frame as many questions as possible. अगर आप यहाँ तक उस stage तक पहुँच गए हो कि आप interview देने जा रहे हो, so then the thing is put in the amount of effort, put in that amount of effort, do it daily on दिन रात करके आप वो effort लगाओ कि questions biodata पे बने. Frame your own questions. No one is going to do that. And take help. Like if you have family members who are friends who are willing to do that, you take help from them also and make questions on that. So I had done a similar thing. I had done that on my Word file. Every sort of question, that why why was that your undergraduate subject, and then why did you work here, what did you do in your job, this, that. You have to be aware of that. The second thing that comes is that the and obviously try to be very thorough in your undergraduate subject also. They will try to pinpoint that, and that unfortunately happened with me, that they from the start they pinpointed my undergraduate
आपका
subject.
था भी तो इकोनॉमिक्स ना तो
Yeah. So I was pretty, मैं preparation करके गया था for my undergraduate subject, but I'll tell you what actually happened in that interview also. So for the preparation part, so biodata definitely your undergraduate subject, and if you've had work experience, तो वो तो है ही है. That's a given कि you need to know, because if you can't assume कि यार चलो मैं किसी let's say manufacturing, let's say you've worked as diverse as something as a manufacturing, and then you want to go and work in the RBI. They will know about manufacturing. They will start asking you. I've heard stories from candidates who have been from diverse parts, diverse sectors, and they've had questions on that ready. So you can't assume कि panel को नहीं पता होगा. ये impression बिल्कुल मत लेके जाना कि panel तुमसे cross question नहीं कर सकता. So that is there. And so what I used to do is with the same questions, I used to prepare in a very interview format. Use the mirror, use your computer screen, laptop पे कैसे कुछ भी करो, and try to keep asking yourself those questions and give the answer in a very framed way. एक framed way में बना के चलो कि यार ये answer ऐसे ही निकलना चाहिए जब वहां पे वो पूछें कि भाई basic question like why RBI, which department, why monetary side of economy में आप जाना चाहते हो, and all of that. So you have those answers prepared with you, as many as possible. So that was for the preparation of it.
ठीक है. अच्छा, जो Akshay, when you are when you are framing the questions based on your form, so what should be the line of thought? Because you can frame a number of questions on the form, but those questions may not be that important for the interview. So वो line of thought क्या होगा? मतलब वो आपकी guiding light क्या होगी? On the basis of which you will be framing the questions based on your form.
Yeah. So I would so as in when, so in the form, first of all, I think the basics would be like आपके undergraduate में what did you do? So your undergraduate, try to revise things about your undergraduate also. I know it's a long shot. It's a very very long shot कि यार आप actually जाके वो theories देखोगे, आपने क्या पढ़ा, major subjects, so it's a long shot, but if you can do it, do it. Get a hold again of your undergraduate. भले आपको 5 साल हो गए हैं graduate किए हुए, but get a hold of that. Second is your work experience. If you've worked somewhere, get a thorough idea of, you have to have an answer. Let's say if they instantly ask you, what did you do there? Like, explain to me what you did do there. So bhale aapka, you must have been a very good employee, but if you can't frame it and put it out, it becomes a problem. They'll think, okay, he's just trying to fudge it. So that's what I'm saying. So आपका undergraduation है, आपका work experience है, and also like if you've mentioned any extracurriculars also, that also they tend to target quite a lot. If you suddenly said that I'm very good at badminton, then you need to know the specifics of the game. कि भाई क्यों लिखा, क्या आपने state level तक खेला है, national जिस level तक भी खेला है. So be prepared for all of that. So that's just the idea. Holistically, your biodata form has to be very good with you. You have to know about it properly.
ठीक है, because I think if you're not prepared well, then वहां पर जाके आपका answer it becomes really long.
Oh yeah. That
सोचते जो you are actually thinking loud.
Yeah.
है ना, बहुत लंबा आंसर जाता है फिर.
That way, even my mom used to say quite a lot कि बेटा please concise रखना. Don't try to अपनी जीवन कथा मत बताना उनको. They are not interested. Keep it concise and keep it to the point. And so actually the thing is that projects confidence also from the person. I believe that, because the panel that's sitting across you is so experienced. So even if you project a certain amount of confidence in front of them, they sort of pick up on that also.
Right. Akshay, do you remember any questions that you were asked in the interview?
Yeah. So I do remember. I mean, the interview experience. So, like talking about the interview experience, so we had to report, I think, around 9 to the Delhi office, and it's a beautiful office. You get very inspired by when you walk in.
आपने भाग पौड़ियों पे?
हाँ नहीं मेरी रह गई थी. I had to do that, but that was left. But it's a fantastic place to take an interview. And so 9 ke around reporting thi, but waiting time was immense. I think waited for 5 hours. मेरा 2 बजे का interview schedule हुआ था. So those 5 hours were again a very stressful time. कि यार क्या चल रहा है, this that, and I was constantly revising the questions that I wanted to say, off the top questions. So even I'd suggest that koi particular event hua hai, if there's a particular event that has happened in the banking domain just the day before, keep a grasp on that, because I remember cryptocurrencies ban ho gayi thi. This was my interview was in March, right? So yeah, around March, the RBI had given a very negative comment or circular with respect to cryptocurrencies. So I remember I was constantly reading up on that also. Ki, bhai, why is this happening and this that? So that is a pointer to make for candidates also, that if you've reached interview stage, keep abreast of the latest topics, even a day before of your actual interview, keep abreast of that topic. So I was doing that for, I think, for 5 hours in that building. Then the interview happened. So two things I would say, sir. Ki, first thing is confidence is key. आप घर पे practice करो कि how you sit, even practice how you're sitting, going to sit in front of that panel. It's not a very easy experience. There are 6 people sitting in a formation in front of you, and आपको छोटे से सोफे पे बैठा देते हैं. And they will, and the chairman was sitting directly opposite me. And the first question he fired was again, why RBI? So I don't remember the exact answer what I gave him, but he was he counter questioned also, that why don't you want to go and work for the finance ministry then? Why are you coming towards this side? So my tentative response to that was, ki, sir, I want to stick towards the monetary side of the monetary, not the fiscal part of the economy. And there the chairman just picked up that question and passed it on. He said that, okay, आप बहुत अच्छी बात है, आप monetary में करना चाहते हो, तो okay sir, next question from monetary side. So now the person who was next in line, he started grilling me about monetary theorists from my undergraduate days. कि आपने economics किया है, मुझे आप monetary theorists उनके बारे में बताओ. So one theory, second theory, third theory, he kept on asking me. After a point of time, I had to tell him कि sir, I'm very sorry, I can't recall. Because there was no point कि, if you don't know it, just say it. आप नहीं recall कर सकते, बता दो उनको. So that was there. And then I think there was a particular lady also who was there. So she asked me about certain, again, economic theories. Someone asked me about risk. किसी ने banking का भी कुछ उठा दिया था. So multiple questions. I think 20-25 odd minutes my interview went on. But the only thing which I had told myself in the interview was that you need to sit rock steady. मतलब वो confidence project करो, don't you can't actually fall under the pressure. If you start falling under the pressure, then I think they pick up even more on that कि भाई ये घबरा रहा है, इसको थोड़ा और परेशान करते हैं. So just sit rock steady, practice sitting rock steady, and keep and then try to answer. So that is one thing, because I remember on that day other candidates were also going in. One of the guys had a sort of a breakdown also. I still remember that he had to be taken out of the interview and just made easy, and then he continued with it. So ये होता है, this happens, and this happened in front of all of us. So we were also very scared after that. यार ये अच्छा खासा खेलता आदमी था, इसका breakdown क्यों हो गया? So that was the interview part of it.
I understand. So I think ना आपका profile भी काफी juicy था RBI के लिए.
Yeah, they were, and I still remember there was a very averse question also. They asked that, why did you leave your previous job? Like I had to 5 minutes went into convincing them कि भाई मैंने क्यों investment banking की profile छोड़ी क्यों? They were not ready to believe the thing कि भाई why do you want to? And he kept on pinching me on that. That he even I think one of the panelists even went ahead to say that, were you fired? Like did they fire you from? Yeah. So it was pretty averse in that. They straight up asked me, आपको job से निकाल दिया क्या? तो मैंने कहा no, that was कि आपने क्यों छोड़ी? आप UPSC के लिए prepare कर रहे हो? So again had to defend that I wasn't preparing for any other exam also. So that was the thing.
Understood. ठीक है. Actually, let me just check the chat and see any relevant questions. Economic survey, government schemes, everything is done. Okay, current affairs is done. Acha, they are asking the link of the Telegram group that you had referred again and again in the interview. So you can send me that link on the mail. I'll pin it down in the video.
Yeah.
Interview strategy is done. Acha, how many hours did you study in a day?
So I don't think there's any particular thing for it. मतलब as much as you can. So working candidates होते हैं, full time candidates होते हैं. You can divide your thing according to that, but I would suggest that take breaks. Like people are there जो बिल्कुल ही they coop themselves, बिल्कुल बंद करके बैठ जाते हैं, पढ़ रहे हैं. I would not recommend that to anyone. take your breaks and study. 6 to 8 hours, I think, is good enough. If you're very, very close to the thing, give it your all. So that is the thing. Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Acha, this question I say you have answered, but I'll still ask you again because maybe this needs some elaboration. That a person has written, her name is Samriddhi, that she is in her second year of graduation with economics honors, right?
Okay.
So, and she's currently studying from EduTap's course.
Okay.
How is the interview going to be for an economics graduate? So, what kind of
Okay.
questions can be expected? That is the question basically.
So if yes, obviously, so if she'll be appearing as a fresher at that point of time, they would definitely grill the person on their theories that they've done. If see, so the thing becomes that what is the interview matter or context that the panelists can grill you on is if you have work experience, they'll target work experience as well. But if you just have an undergraduate, they will target your undergraduate course. They will target whatever your theories you've learned, how might those theories actually be applied also. Because I remember there was this kind of a question as well where the lady that was in the panel, she asked me, does the Phillips curve exist today or not? What are the various types of the Phillips curve and this that? So they ask questions like that as well. So you have to be prepared. Like, try to, if she's a economics graduate, she's studying right now, try to extrapolate your course matter with current happenings as well. Are they relevant or not also? Because kai baar yehi hota hai that in undergraduate we're just studying and we don't tend to relate it with what's happening in the outside
Application
world.
नहीं करते उसको,
Application
right,
nahi
right.
karte. So they can ask on that also.
I understood. Samriddhi, I think your question is answered. Then accountancy honors, उसमें क्या करना चाहिए? Anything? No.
I'd recommend the same things, that be very thorough with your undergraduate this thing. There is no doubt about it.
Right. GA preparation strategy has already been covered, Shreyashi.
Yeah.
So I think there is no point in repeating that. And ठीक है. Acha, one last question, Akshay.
Yeah.
Let's say someone who is starting his or her preparation now for the next examination.
Okay.
Let's assume that there are, let's say, 4 months. Let's
Yeah.
assume that 4 to 5 months, right?
Right.
So in these 4 to 5 months, can you chalk out a plan for them? And let's say the person is a fresher. He or she has not appeared for bank PO or SSC or UPSC. They have not taken RBI Grade B exam before. What should be the strategy for them? And they're devoting full time.
Yeah. So I would say, sir, that divide the time between phase. If you've got 4 months left of the exam, divide the time between phase 1 and phase 2 somewhere roughly around 70-30. Give 70% to phase 1. And if I'm saying that if you're just starting out, let's say you're starting off 4 months prior to the exam to prepare and all that, phase 1 to karna hi hai yaar. You'll be because the filter out process is so huge for phase 1 that you want to get in. So if you're not a CAT or any aptitude test person, please go ahead and work on your skills of quant and reasoning. Reasoning, I remember in the second shift for our exam, the reasoning came slightly twisted. So few candidates who would have been
Slightly
very,
twisted
twisted thi. So those candidates who would have been very good at the subjects, otherwise they lost out. So which you don't want to do. आपको shift नहीं पता आप किस में आओगे या scaling किस हिसाब से जाती है. So you don't know that. So I would suggest that quant, reasoning, and English ke be very thorough with that and keep moving that alongside for 4 months. Karte raho, keep on doing that. And GA also. The current affairs, the score itself, the fact that you can score so easily in current affairs by putting in that amount of effort has to be the incentive enough. ये उतना बड़ा ही incentive है कि भाई आपको it'll sail you through the cutoff for the phase 1. So that is my strategy. 70-30, 70% your phase 1, 30% has to go to phase 2.
And for someone who is preparing for 2021, next to next examination, let's say one complete year is there.
So then I would say, sir, then take a lot of time to keep your basics clear. आप finance के domain में, economics के domain में जितने basics अपने clear कर सकते हो, do also have another fallback option in place. If you're looking at that longer timeline, do have a fallback option in place, whether you're taking up a job or you're doing some other course. Please do that. That will help. And so yeah, that is there. कि आप basics से बहुत time है आपके पास, you can start off with basics.
Right. Any newspaper you would recommend for the examination?
I, sir, completely stuck to Business Standard. I used to read Business Standard on a daily basis, and that's a slightly boring newspaper to look at. There is no masala, nothing in it. There's complete news. So it's a very appealing newspaper.
I understand.
Yeah.
ठीक है जी. ठीक है, all my questions are covered. Akshay, anything you would like to suggest to the future aspirants? Anything?
So I think the motivation, I think everyone is motivated because it's a very coveted organization, and you have to find that thing within you that what is the thing that's drawing you to work towards that organization. If you can find it and just hang on to it, so I think वो कर लेगा. It'll make you put in more and more effort for it. You know that thing of एक current affair छोड़ देता हूँ, क्या करना है, इस month का नहीं पड़ता, वो just if you're motivated enough, just try to push it through because competition काफी ज़्यादा है यार. It's crazy amount of competition and they don't give out that many vacancies. The biggest stress factor that comes out for candidates is the vacancies ही नहीं है. So that becomes an issue.
60 to 80 odd vacancies for the unreserved category.
Yeah, unreserved this thing.
Pretty small number, है ना? ठीक है. Akshay, thank you so much for joining us
yes,
today.
My
and
pleasure,
sharing
sir.
your experience with all the candidates. I am very sure this will help them a lot. Thank you so much, Akshay, and heartiest congratulations once again.
Thank you.